Karen was the undisputed dictator of Pinewood Estates, a tidy little HOA community tucked into the suburbs of Raleigh, North Carolina, where the lawns were green and the gossip was greener. At 57, she'd ruled the Homeowners Association for a decade, turning a peaceful enclave of 200 homes into her personal fiefdom of petty tyranny. Her house, a squat ranch with blinding white siding and a yard so manicured it could have doubled as a showroom, sat on Birch Lane like a judgmental sentinel. Every flower pot, every fence post, every blade of grass trembled under her reign, and she'd once fined a guy $100 for a birdhouse that clashed with the aesthetic. Karen didn't just live in Pinewood, she owned it, or so she believed, with a cackle that could scare off crows. Her days were a symphony of meddling, played with the gusto of a cartoon villain. Mornings kicked off with a power walk, less exercise, more reconnaissance. Her bleach blonde bob bouncing like a spiteful helmet under a visor screaming, HOA Queen, in glittery script. She'd hit the Starbucks on Six Forks for a skinny latte, snarling at the barista if the foam dared deflate, then storm back to her war room, a dining nook crammed with HOA binders, a corkboard of violation snapshots, and a desk littered with passive-aggressive post-its like trim that hedge or pay. Afternoons were for terrorizing the garden center over substandard petunias, and evenings meant slugging rosé on her patio, scrolling next door for fresh prey, usually dog walkers or suspicious teens. She was the neighborhood's nosiest nightmare, and she thrived on it. Karen's look was a crime against taste. Her hair, dyed a brassy blonde that glowed like a caution sign, was teased into a bob so stiff it could have deflected a brick, thanks to weekly blowouts at Curl Up and Die. She favored blazers in eye-searing shades, lime, peach, hot pink, over khaki capris that clung to her bony legs like shrink wrap, paired with gold hoop earrings big enough to double as bracelets and a Boss Babe tote she'd snagged off Etsy after her divorce from Carl, a CPA who'd fled to Charlotte with a yoga instructor named Sky. Her green eyes, smudged with clumpy liner, narrowed into slits at the slightest whiff of defiance, and her voice, a nasal, ear-piercing screech, could shatter a wine glass. She wasn't just loud, she was a human jackhammer with a vendetta. Pinewood Estates was a suburban dreamscape, neat bungalows with wraparound porches, blooming azaleas, a community park with a gazebo where folks swapped stories over lemonade. But beneath the charm, it was a simmering pot of petty feuds. The Clarks hated the Lees for their gaudy wind chimes. Mrs. Harper grumbled about the Patels' loud Bollywood nights. And everyone lived in dread of Karen. She'd once banned solar lights, claiming they disrupted the nighttime vibe. And most folks complied, because fighting her was like arguing with a rabid raccoon. Messy, hilarious, and you'd lose a tooth. Not everyone bowed, though. Across the park lived Mia Torres, a 35-year-old graphic designer with a green thumb and a dry wit sharper than a pruning shear. Mia had moved to Pinewood 3 years back with her rescue mutt, Taco, a scruffy terrier with a bark like a foghorn. Her house was a cozy craftsman with faded teal siding, a porch swing creaking under sketch pads, and a backyard that was less lawn, more jungle, wildflowers and veggies spilling everywhere. She kept to herself, tending her plants and freelancing from home, but she'd become the park's unofficial caretaker after the old guy moved away. Mia wasn't loud, she was just Mia, in overalls and a faded Nirvana tee, smirking through life's chaos. The real heart of the park was Jimmy Jimbo Rawls, a 61-year-old homeless vet who'd become a quiet fixture in Pinewood. Jimbo was a wiry figure with a gray beard, a limp from a shrapnel wound in Iraq, and a duffel bag that held his life: medals, a worn Bible, a sleeping bag. He'd served 2 tours, come home broken, and lost his house to medical bills after his wife, Linda, died of cancer. For a year, he'd camped in the park's gazebo, kept it clean, fixed benches, watered Mia's plants with a beat-up can. The neighbors didn't mind. Some slipped him coffee, others cash. To them, he was Jimbo, gruff but gold, cracking dry one-liners that made Mia snort. To Karen, he was about to become public enemy number 1. It all sparked on a humid July afternoon, the air thick with the scent of jasmine. Karen was on her walk, visor low, sweating through her peach blazer, when she spotted Jimbo in the gazebo, watering Mia's marigolds with his rusty can. He was in a faded camo jacket, his beard scruffy, his duffel propped against a bench. To anyone with a soul, it was a vet doing a kindness. To Karen, it was a 5-alarm violation of her pristine domain. She screeched to a halt, her green nails digging into her hips, and gawked like she'd caught a burglar mid-heist. "Who's that?" she squawked, her voice slicing through the hum of cicadas. She didn't know Jimbo, not by name. To her, he was just some vagrant in rags, not a sanctioned resident on her mental roster. She whipped out her phone, snapped a blurry pic of him mid-pour, and stormed home, her heels clacking like gunfire. 5 minutes later, next door lit up. "Homeless alert! Unknown male lurking in the park. Who is he? Safety at risk." A few likes trickled in. Mrs. Harper, too nosy to resist, but most scrolled past unimpressed. Mia saw it an hour later, sprawled on her porch with Taco gnawing a tennis ball. She checked her phone, read it, and cackled so hard she nearly fell off the swing. "Homeless alert!" she wheezed, texting Jimbo a screenshot. He had a cheap burner phone for emergencies. "She's lost it, man," Jimbo replied with a single LOL and a thumbs-down emoji, adding, "Guess I'm a ghost now. Been here a year." Mia grinned, figuring it'd blow over. Karen was a drama queen, but this was next-level nuts, even for her. Karen didn't blow over. She doubled down. That night, she typed a violation notice, $75 for unauthorized presence on HOA property, and taped it to the gazebo's railing under cover of dusk, her blazer glowing like a traffic cone. She emailed her HOA minions, Mrs. Harper, Phil the realtor, a couple others, ranting about vagrants and Mia's negligence. Then she sat back with her rosé, smirking, imagining Jimbo slinking away in shame. She didn't know Mia, or Jimbo. She didn't know the park was more than grass, or that Pinewood had a breaking point. The fuse was lit, and Karen was about to get a comedy of errors she'd never see coming. Part 2. Karen Voss didn't see Mia's cackle as a warning. She saw it as a personal affront, a spit in the face of her HOA throne. That Tuesday morning after her next-door post, she was up before the sun, pacing her patio with a rosé hangover and a grudge that could have fueled a soap opera. The blurry photo of Jimbo watering Mia's marigolds was pinned to her corkboard, a taunting reminder of her vagrant still at large. "Filthy trespasser," she snarled to her cat, Whiskers, who'd retreated to the couch in self-defense. "They think they can mock me? Oh, I'll show 'em." She chugged a latte, strapped on her neon lime blazer like a war vest, and launched her offensive. She started with a paper barrage. She typed a second violation notice, $100 this time, citing repeated unauthorized presence and failure to comply with HOA safety standards, and printed it with a vengeance, the printer wheezing under her fury. She marched it over to the gazebo at 7 a.m., her heels clacking like a machine gun, and taped it to the railing so hard it bent. Then she emailed her HOA posse, Mrs. Harper, Phil, a few other yes-men, attaching the photo in a rant. "Mia Torres is harboring this homeless creep. Our community's at risk. Fines issued, but we need a crackdown." Mrs. Harper replied instantly, "He looks dangerous. Good call, Karen." Phil hedged. "Maybe ask who he is first." But Karen ignored him, already plotting her next strike. Mia found the notice that afternoon, peeling it off the gazebo, while Taco sniffed the grass. She read it, her jaw dropping, and snorted so loud she scared a squirrel. $100 for Jimbo watering my flowers?" she wheezed, texting him a pic. "She's upping the stakes, man. You're a felon now." Jimbo called back, his gravelly voice half amused, half annoyed. "She's gonna flip when she sees me fix the benches today. Tell her I charge extra for loitering." Mia doubled over, picturing Karen's meltdown, and tossed the notice on her porch next to Taco's chew toys. "She's unhinged," she said to the mutt, "but this is getting good." Karen didn't stop at paper threats. By noon, she was back on Nextdoor, posting a manifesto. Day 2 of the homeless crisis, Mia Torres guest still lurking in the park, watering like he owns it. Where's the accountability? HOA rules exist for a reason. She pinned the blurry pic again, expecting a flood of support. A few likes trickled in, Mrs. Harper, Phil, but the comments were a riot. The Patels fired back. That's Jimbo Rawls, you idiot. He's lived here a year. Mrs. Clark chimed in. He fixed my gate last week, no complaints. Even the Lees, usually Karen's lapdogs, posted, Chill, Karen. It's just a can. Karen's green nails twitched over her phone, deleting the dissenters one by one. Fools, she hissed, chugging more rosé. They'll thank me when this place isn't a hobo camp. Mia saw the post. Mrs. Patel showed her on her phone, giggling, and nearly spit out her iced tea. She's calling you a crisis, Jimbo, she hollered across the park that afternoon, where Jimbo was sanding a bench, his camo jacket dusty. He grinned, wiping sweat from his brow with a tattooed arm. Guess I'm the boogeyman now. Should I salute her? Mia cackled, imagining Karen's reaction, and yelled, Nah, just keep fixing. She'll stroke out eventually. So, they laughed, but Mia felt a twinge. This wasn't fizzling, it was escalating, and Karen was a pit bull with a bone. Wednesday, Karen went full Sherlock. She parked herself on her patio with binoculars, big clunky ones she'd bought to spy on suspicious Amazon drivers, and watched Jimbo like a vulture. He was back at the gazebo, this time watering Mia's zinnias, his duffel propped nearby. Karen zoomed in, muttering, Dirty little drifter, and snapped a dozen pics, each blurrier than the last. She posted them on Nextdoor with a caption, Caught in the act. Vagrant, still invading our park. Police next. The comments were savage, Patel. That's Jimbo, you nutcase. Clark, he's more neighbor than you. Karen blocked them all, her face a beet-red mask of rage, and dialed 911. Pinewood Estates, Birch Lane, she barked to the dispatcher. There's a homeless male loitering in our park, watering plants, acting like he belongs. Send someone now. The dispatcher sighed. Karen was a frequent flyer, and sent Sergeant Dan Brooks, a burly cop who dealt with her nonsense before. He rolled up 10 minutes later, lights off, while Jimbo was mid-pour. You Rawls? Dan asked, leaning on his cruiser. Jimbo set the can down, smirking. Yep. Karen Voss call you? Dan nodded, stifling a grin. Says you're lurking. You live here? Jimbo jerked a thumb at the gazebo. Year now, helping Mia with her flowers. Dan glanced at Karen, peeking from her blinds, and chuckled. You're good, man. Tell her to relax. He drove off, but Karen snapped a pic of the cruiser leaving, posting, Police failed. HOA must step in. Mia heard the siren, barely a blip, and poked her head out to see Jimbo waving Dan off. She called the cops, she yelled, incredulous. Jimbo sauntered over, can dripping. Yep, said I'm a loiterer. Dan told me to keep up the good work. Mia howled, clutching her sides. This is gold. Karen's losing it. Taco barked in agreement, and they high-fived, plotting to lean into it. Jimbo'd fix benches, shirtless tomorrow. Mia'd blast Sweet Caroline from her porch. Karen wouldn't know what hit her. Thursday, Karen escalated to absurdity. She printed flyers, neon yellow screaming, Beware the Vagrant, with a grainy pic of Jimbo, and stuffed them in every mailbox on Birch Lane. She taped one to the gazebo, another to Mia's door, and even slipped them under the Patel's welcome mat. Then she called an emergency HOA meeting for Saturday, emailing her minions. Mia Torres homeless is a menace. Fines aren't enough. We need a ban. Mrs. Harper clapped back. I'm in. Safety first. Phil waffled. Maybe a warning? But Karen steamrolled him, scripting her triumph. Mia found the flyer Friday, peeling it off her door, while Taco chewed a stick. Menace, she snorted, texting Jimbo. You're banned now, big shot. Jimbo replied, Guess I'll sneak in at night. Stealth mode. She laughed, but the pile of notices, $75, $100, now this, was stacking up. She knocked on the Patel's door that evening, a tray of brownies in hand. They'd adopted Jimbo, too. She's not quitting, Mia said, plopping onto their porch swing. Mr. Patel cracked a beer, his grin sharp. She's a yappy dog, lots of bark, no bite. Let's give her a show. They clinked drinks, scheming. Jimbo'd water in his old army fatigues tomorrow. Mia'd set up a boombox with Uptown Funk. Karen's head would explode. Saturday, the park crew caught wind. The Patels dropped by Mia's with samosas, Mrs. Clark shuffled over with cookies, and the Lees, shockingly, offered lemonade. She's after Jimbo? Mrs. Patel asked, munching a samosa. Mia nodded, grinning. Called him a vagrant, Cops, flyers, the works. Mrs. Clark cackled, her dentures clicking. That's Jimmy Rawls. Fixed my porch in 22. She's dumber than a bag of hammers. They hatched a plan, crash Karen's meeting, bring facts and snacks. Jimbo shrugged, sipping his lemonade. I'll bring the can, just in case. Karen's meeting was a circus before it started. The community room was packed. Her posse up front, Mrs. Harper, Phil, a few suck-ups. But the back filled with rebels. Mia, Jimbo, the Patels, Mrs. Clark, even the Lees with their kids. Karen strutted in, peach blazer blazing, and banged her gavel. Mia Torres has let a homeless vagrant terrorize us, she shrieked, waving flyers. Fines ain't working. I say ban him. Mrs. Harper cheered. Phil nodded, but Mia stood, arms crossed. That's Jimbo Rawls, she said loud and clear. Vet, lives here, fixes our park. You're the terror, Karen. The room erupted. Patels. Yeah, Jimbo. Clark. Sit down, you twit. Karen banged her gavel, screeching. Lies! He's a drifter. Jimbo stood, slow and smirking, and saluted. 2 tours, ma'am. You're welcome. Laughter rolled. Karen's face went purple, and Mrs. Patel yelled, You're the drifter! Wine breath! Karen threw a flyer at her. It missed, hit Phil, and stormed out, vowing revenge. Sunday she posted, HOA betrayed. War's on. The comments roasted her. Karen versus Yvette? Good luck. And Pinewood split. Her minions versus the park gang. She thought she'd win, thought she'd crush them. She didn't see the hilarity or the karma barreling her way. Part 3. The week after Karen's HOA meeting, Flop turned Pinewood Estates into a tinderbox, and Karen Voss was the spark ready to blow it sky high. By Monday morning, she was in full dictator mode, her war room a bunker of HOA rulebooks, violation notices, and a laptop glowing with half-crazed rants. The meeting's jeers and Mia's defiance replayed in her head like a scratched record, and she'd spent the weekend turning her grudge into a holy war. They'll rue the day, she hissed to Whiskers, her cat, who'd taken refuge under the couch. Mia and that filthy vet are toast. She'd lost round 1, but she'd bury them under her own laws, or so she thought. She launched her blitz with a vengeance. Tuesday she printed a new batch of flyers, neon orange this time, screaming, Danger, Vagrant Alert, with a blurry pic of Jimbo, and stuffed them into every mailbox in Pinewood. She taped one to the gazebo, another to Mia's door, and even slipped them under the community room's welcome mat. Then she emailed her HOA posse, Mrs. Harper, Phil, the rest, demanding an emergency session Wednesday night to purge the park menace once and for all. Sornan, this is about our sanctity, she wrote, attaching her shaky video of Jimbo watering. Mrs. Harper replied, You're a saint, Karen. Phil just said, I'll show up, his tone flat. Mia found the flyer Tuesday afternoon, peeling it off her door while Taco gnawed a stick nearby. Danger, she snorted, texting Jimbo. You're a supervillain now, heads up. Jimbo called back, his gravelly voice a mix of glee and grit. She's digging her own ditch. Let's make it deep. Mia grinned, glancing at the gazebo. Marigolds blooming, benches gleaming. She's dragging you down with me. Sorry, man. Jimbo chuckled. Kid, I've faced worse than her in Baghdad. We'll roast her. They agreed to crash the session, rallying the park crew for backup. Karen didn't stop at flyers. Wednesday, she posted on Nextdoor again, a tirade. Wednesday's session will decide if Pinewood stays clean or falls to vagrants like Mia Torres and her guest. Be there. The comments exploded. Patel. Jimbo's a vet, you clown. Clark. He fixed my fence. Lay off. The Lees. This is ridiculous. Karen deleted them all, her face a tomato red mask, and blocked half the neighborhood. Then she called the cops a third time, claiming ongoing trespassing at the park. Supershirt Dan rolled up, saw Jimbo sanding a bench, and waved him off. Tell her to quit wasting my time, Dan muttered, peeling out. Karen snapped a pic anyway, posting, Police fail us. HOA's last stand. Pinewood was splitting at the seams. The park crew, Mia, Jimbo, the Patels, Mrs. Clark, the Lees, met at Mia's Tuesday night, a dozen strong munching samosas on the porch. Mia brought her flyers. Support Jimbo. And Jimbo brought his calm, leaning on the swing with a coffee. She's got the board in her pocket, Mrs. Patel warned, her voice sharp. But we've got the numbers. Mrs. Clark nodded, her walker thumping. That hag picked the wrong fight. Mia smiled, nerves buzzing. Let's make it loud. Jimbo smirked. I'll bring the can, just in case. Wednesday dawned hot and sticky, the air humming with tension. Karen spent the day prepping, ironing her hot pink blazer, printing violation logs, rehearsing her speech like a general before a siege. She strutted into the community room at 6 p.m., her posse trailing, Mrs. Harper clutching a notepad, Phil shuffling like a beaten pup. The room was small, fluorescent glare, folding chairs, a rickety table, but it was packed by 6:30. Karen's loyalists sat up front. Mrs. Harper, Phil, a few suck-ups, while the park crew filled the back. Mia, Jimbo, the Patels, Mrs. Clark, the Lees with their kids, even Mrs. Harper's quiet husband sneaking in late. Word had spread, and neutrals showed up too, popcorn ready for the fireworks. Karen took the table at 7 p.m., gavel in hand, her voice a nasal lash. Thank y'all for coming, she began, her smirk tight. We're here because Mia Torres has endangered Pinewood by letting this vagrant, Jimmy whatever, squat in our park. He's a safety risk, and I've got proof. She waved her notices, the video cued on her phone. Fines ain't worked, so I propose a ban. No outsiders without HOA approval, starting with him. Mrs. Harper clapped. Phil nodded, but the room shifted. Murmurs, snickers. A few coughs that sounded like bull crap. Mia stood, her overalls dusty, her voice steady. Karen, that's Jimbo Rawls. Vet, lives here, fixes our park. He's no outsider. You're just a bully. The park crew cheered. Patel loudest. Damn right. Karen's eyes narrowed. Rules don't bend for fixers, Mia. You're reckless. Jimbo rose next, slow and deliberate, his gray beard catching the light. Lady, I've been here a year, served in Iraq, kept this park alive. You're the risk, yelling at folks for breathing. The room erupted. Claps, hoots, a hooah from an old vet in the crowd. Karen banged her gavel, her face flushing. Order! This ain't a sob story contest. He's unapproved, end of story. Mrs. Patel jumped up, red-faced. You're a monster, Karen. Jimbo's more Pinewood than you'll ever be. The Lees shouted, Leave him alone. Mrs. Clark waved her walker like a club. Shame on you. Karen slammed the gavel, shrieking, Sit down or I'll have you removed. But the crowd was hers no more. Half stood, hollering, the other half booed. Karen played her video, Jimbo watering, her voice screeching, Trespasser. But it backfired hard. The room laughed, then roared. Patel. That's your proof? A can? Clark. Pathetic. She cut it off, trembling, and pointed at Jimbo. You're a liar. A bum pretending to be a hero. Jimbo didn't flinch. Check my DD2 war torn, ma'am. I've got medals older than your blazer. Laughter hit like a tsunami, sharp and cutting. Mia stepped forward again, holding her flyers. This ain't about safety. It's about control. Jimbo's helped us all. Benches, flowers, you name it. Karen's the threat, harassing a vet for kicks. She tossed the flyers. Hands snatched them, waving them like flags. Karen lunged for the mic. Lies! I protect this place! You're all ungrateful! Her voice cracked, drowned by boos. The board wavered. Phil whispered to Mrs. Harper. This is bad. Mrs. Harper hissed, Stay strong. But the tide was turning. A neutral Tom the mailman stood. Jimbo fixed my porch last month. You're out of line, Karen. More rose, vets, gardeners, parents chanting, Jimbo! Jimbo! Karen's gavel hit the table, splintering it, and she screamed, This is my meeting? Then it happened. Mrs. Clark stood, walker creaking, and pointed her cane. You're a disgrace, Voss. That man's a hero. Mess with him again, and I'll whack you myself, Karen snapped. She shoved past the table, stormed toward Jimbo, and shrieked, Get out, you filthy bum! The room froze, then exploded. Boos thundered, chairs scraped. Mia lunged forward. Say it again, Karen. And Mrs. Patel caught her arm, not hard, just firm. Jimbo stayed cool, arms crossed, smirking. Bum? I've got a Purple Heart, lady. Earned it while you were whining about hedges. Laughter rolled, Mrs. Clark cackled. She's done! Karen swung her clipboard at him. It missed, hit the wall, and she spun to the board. Vote now! Ban him! Phil stammered. Maybe we... Mrs. Harper cut in. Yes! But the crowd drowned them. Jeers, stomps, a thrown flyer smacking Karen's blazer. She lost it. She shoved Mia, snatched the mic, and screeched, You're all trash! I'll sue you, him, everybody! She swung at Jimbo again, her tote flying. He dodged, chill as ice, and it hit Phil square in the face. Mrs. Clark caught her arm. Enough, you hag! And she wrenched free, her blazer ripping, tripping over a chair. She bolted out, heels clacking, her exit a clumsy mess as the room erupted. Cheers, hugs, Mrs. Clark, waving her walker like a victory banner. Outside, Karen collapsed on a bench, panting, her phone buzzing with notifications. Next door, texts, voicemails. She didn't look. The session was a rout. Her posse scattered, the neighborhood hers no more. Mia and Jimbo stayed, the crew circling, plotting a victory potluck. Karen's empire was rubble, but the real hammer was hours away. Wednesday night was her peak and her plunge. Part 4. Thursday morning dawned over Pinewood Estates like a fresh breeze, the air cool with the scent of rain and the neighborhood humming with a lightness it hadn't known in years. Karen Voss's house was a tomb, blinds drawn tight, no patio watch, no hot pink blazer strutting down Birch Lane. Inside, she was a mess. She'd stumbled home after the HOA session meltdown, her ripped blazer tossed in a heap, her phone dead from ignoring the flood of notifications. Whiskers, her cat, watched from the couch, wary as she sat in the dark, replaying the booze, Mia's fire, Jimbo's smirk. Trash, she whispered, her voice hoarse, but the fight was gone, just embers of spite flickering out. Across the park, Mia Torres brewed coffee on her porch, the aroma mixing with the earthy tang of her marigolds. Jimbo Rawls joined her, his gray beard catching the light, a thermos of black coffee in hand. They didn't gloat, didn't need to. The session's chaos still rang in their ears. Karen's filthy bum, shriek a punchline for the ages. She's cooked, Mia said, sipping her mug. Jimbo nodded, his grin sly. Overdone and crispy. They watched the park from afar, benches gleaming, flowers blooming, a quiet victory rooted in the dirt. By noon, Pinewood was buzzing with chatter. Mrs. Patel dropped by Mia's with samosas, recounting Karen's tantrum with a cackle. She swung at Jimbo, and he just stepped aside like she was a fly. Mrs. Clark hobbled over, cookies in tow, wheezing, about time that witch got swatted. The Lees told the Clarks over the fence. Mrs. Harper's husband spilled it to the mailman. Karen's reign was the talk of the block. Mia's support Jimbo flyers littered lawns, some pinned up like trophies, while Karen's orange screeds moldered in trash bins. Karen emerged at 2 p.m., pale and disheveled, her usual blazer swapped for a ratty sweatshirt. She needed air, needed to reclaim something, so she grabbed her phone, finally charged, and shuffled out. But the signs were everywhere. Folks gardening with Jimbo's help, a thanks vet banner the Patels hung by the gazebo, kids trading tales of the yell. It was a silent rebuke, a neighborhood reborn without her. She avoided eyes, her steps faltering, until she saw Mia and Jimbo in the park. Jimbo watering, Mia pruning. She froze, then bolted back, her heart pounding. They've won, she muttered, slamming her door shut. The real blow landed that afternoon. The HOA board, rattled by the session, met in secret at Phil's real estate office. A hush-hush powwow Karen wasn't clued into. Mrs. Harper, Phil, the rest, they'd seen the tide turn. She's a liability, Phil said, his voice shaky. Half the block's ready to sue. Mrs. Clark had crashed the meet, uninvited, walker in tow. Jimbo's a hero, Karen's a bully. Fix this or we will. The vote was quick, 5-1, Mrs. Harper dissenting, to strip Karen of her presidency. But the kicker came next. Mia had called a lawyer friend Lisa, who dug into HOA bylaws and found Karen's vagrant crusade violated anti-discrimination clauses. The board, spooked, greenlit a lawsuit against her, $10,000 in damages, legal fees, the works. An email blasted out by dusk. Karen Voss removed as HOA president, effective immediately. Lawsuit filed for discriminatory conduct. Phil texted her a curt, "You're done," and blocked her reply. Karen got the email at 6 p.m., her rosé glass trembling in her hand. She read it, reread it, then smashed the glass against the wall, pink liquid streaking the paint. "Bastards!" she screamed, whiskers bolting under the couch. She called Mrs. Harper, who didn't answer. Then Phil, who'd already cut her off. She was alone, dethroned, her empire torched, and now sued. She sank to the floor, sobbing, not remorse, but rage at a world that dared defy her. Friday, the neighborhood threw a party. Mia hosted a potluck in the park, tables groaning with samosas, cookies, lemonade, Jimbo manning a grill with burgers sizzling. The Patels brought their boombox, blasting Sweet Caroline, Mrs. Clark her famous pound cake, the Lees a tray of spring rolls. Residents poured in, 60, then 80, vets saluting Jimbo, kids chasing taco, Mrs. Clark dishing out sass and slices. A local reporter, Tara from the Raleigh News, showed up, tipped off by Mrs. Patel. "Heard you took down an HOA tyrant," she said, notebook out. Mia grinned. "Jimbo did the heavy lifting. Just stood there being a badass." Jimbo shrugged. "Watered some plants, that's all." Tara's story ran Saturday. Vets stand topples HOA bully. Lawsuit seals her fate. It praised Jimbo's grit, Mia's spine, the neighborhood's heart, and skewered Karen in a zinger. Ex-HOA Prezi's bum rant cost her title and a fat check. Online it blew up. Vets sharing Jimbo's tale. Locals cheering. Comments roasting Karen. "Picked on a hero. Got sued. Classic Karen." A petition to dissolve the HOA hit 150 signatures by night, the Lees leading the charge. Karen saw it Sunday, her phone finally on. The hate mail piling up. Texts, emails, a note from Mrs. Clark. "Karma's green, huh?" She didn't leave the house, didn't answer when Mrs. Harper knocked with a weak, "We can fix this." "Fix it yourself," Karen snapped, slamming the door. She poured a rosé, stared at the park through her blinds, Jimbo grilling, Mia laughing, folks milling, and felt the weight. Her flyers, her rules, her throne, all dust. Monday, Jimbo knocked on her door. She peeked through the peephole, saw his weathered face, and almost didn't open it. But curiosity won. She cracked it, sweatshirt rumpled, no makeup. "What?" she barked. Jimbo held out a marigold, bright yellow, plucked from the park. "Grew this," he said, no smugness, just fact. "Thought you might like it. We're done fighting." She stared, her mouth twitching, then took it, the door clicking shut. Jimbo limped off, his stride steady, and didn't look back. By Tuesday, Pinewood exhaled. The park thrived. Volunteers doubled. Jimbo's can of quiet legend. Mia planted a new flower bed. The Patels built a picnic table. The Lees hung a community first sign. Karen stayed in, the marigold on her counter next to her violation drafts, unfiled, useless. She didn't walk, didn't post, didn't call meetings. Wednesday, she poured a rosé, sat alone and watched the park crew from her window. No rant, just silence. Weeks later, at a Labor Day barbecue, Pinewood gathered, flags waving, Jimbo on the grill, Mia passing lemonade. Karen didn't come, but her blinds twitched, catching the laughter, the unity. She sipped her drink, the marigold wilting, and let the quiet settle. Her reign was over, her lesson bitter, and Pinewood bloomed without her, a garden of karma rooted deep.